Can you hear me on there? Tone is usually down pretty low.
Especially gold top, man. That's like so rock and roll.
They took my part that I played on the bridge and just flew it to the front of the song.
Well, here we are.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
Good. It's good to see you. This is great.
You too. Yeah, this is fun. How's Nashville out there? You guys, family doing well? And
yeah, man, we're hanging in there. We're about to, try to figure out, we've kind of been living in this every day feels the same for 3 months with the kids. And now we're trying to figure out school. So, yeah, that's kind of the big question mark around here with the house is like, what are we going to do? So,
yeah, for sure. That's
starting up. And then we've got, work-wise, there's finally a few things coming around on the schedule. So, so we've, it's a little less of like the longest summer ever and finally turning into like a little bit more rhythm, hopefully.
Well, for those of you who are tuning in, my name's Tim Nienhuis, and I'm sure you guys all know Daniel Carson. You probably clicked on this video because you saw his name. Daniel and I have known each other for a few years now. We've gotten to do some events together. And so we thought it'd be fun to do a little chat here and talk about some worship guitar and what you're doing with Chris Tomlin. And for those who don't know Daniel, he's been Chris Tomlin's guitar player for what, 20 years?
It's 20 years, yeah. I think September is 20 years exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think my first stadium event that I played at, I think I played your, let's see. What's the song called?
Indescribable.
Indescribable. That was the very first Chris Tomlin song that I ever played, and that was your guitar part.
I think you remember that guitar part better than I do.
I'm just trying to remember it now, but man, so you've literally played. I mean, you've shaped the sound of worship music over the last 20 years. I mean, you've been playing parts on records that guys have played all over the world. So I would love to, in fact, the new record just came out, right?
Yeah. This was a whole different kind of project than in the past. Just new voices, new sounds, new everything. And there was one song called "Reaching for You" that we recorded with We the Kingdom. Mm-hmm. And so the first version of that was one that Ed Cash had produced here in Nashville. And Chris and Ed had asked me if I could play on the demo for that. And I had no idea. They just said like, hey, can we send you a song to record guitars on? Because I have my setup here at the house with my kind of rig here. And so I was like, yes,
we'll
of course.
Have to talk about that too.
Yeah, let's do it. I love that stuff. I'm a nerd for all that stuff. So
me too.
They sent me the track, and I had no idea what would be. I had no idea if anyone would ever hear it, because you know how it is. It's like Chris will record 20 or 30 demos, and a lot of them just never come out. And they wanted it quickly. They're like, hey, we're going to be in the studio tomorrow. Any chance you could kind of like just throw something down real fast? So I was kind of in a hurry and up against the clock, which was kind of, in a way, was kind of good for me. I didn't have time to overthink it. It was just kind of like first instinct, get that part down, make sure it's in tune and in time, and just get it over there so they can record some vocals to the track. And anyway, so I recorded the song, the guitars on that, and then, as often happens, I think it was more like 4 or 5 months later when they actually went in to record the official version in the studio with the Nashville like session guys, and Chris and Corey just really liked these particular guitar parts I had put on the demo, so they survived the. They made the trip from the demo all the way to the final version. So I was really honored to have that make it on there, because the guys that are playing on the record, it's an honor to be even on the album credits with those guys. So that was one song.
I kid you not. I told you already. I was doing a quick workout the other day, and I popped on the album and was listening, and that song stuck out to me. And I think I texted you and asked you about it. And that was the song you said you did the guitars in your home, right?
Yeah, right here,
right there. I love that. That's literally the dream, right there. Recording guitars at your house.
Yeah. Yes. It is, right?
Well, we should talk about the parts and how you came up with, the parts that you played and maybe the sounds and which guitars you used.
Sure.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, of course.
I know I'd be interested, so I'm sure there's tons of guys out there that would love to hear that. So
yeah, what's funny about so just diving right into the technical side, I think at the time some of our gear was out. We have a storage space in Nashville, and most of my gear lives there that I tour with, and then I keep redundant gear at the studio so I can always record something here. So I have kind of like two pedal boards. There's like kind of my main one that I tour with, and then which I have at home now because we're not touring, and then I've got like a second like pedal train that I just kind of, it's always changing, and I just throw stuff on there. And so when they sent that over, I tracked a little bit differently than I normally do because I didn't have all my normal stuff, and which is kind of funny because it kind of forced me to play a little differently. So one thing I did, there's this main guitar part on the, see if you can hear me. Can you hear me on there?
Yeah, loud and clear.
So there's this main line that it was like a piano and vocal, and it was like this little. It's like this little like kind of really beautiful like kind of anthemic. It was a theme that was already in the demo when I received it, and to me it was just like it was so obvious. It was like follow this path. It's like
it's a great.
It was
line.
a really it's beautiful. Yeah. And I can't take credit for that. I think maybe Ed put that in there on the demo, like a piano thing. And no one gave me, sometimes when you are given a song to work on, most of the time people just like, hey, here it is, go wild. And with
for
this
what
one,
you think goes, yeah.
And it was that way with this. No one said, hey, I want to make sure you get that one theme, get that one hook on guitar. And so anyway, I wanted that to really speak. I wanted that to be kind of like something that was real present. And so I recorded one version, and I believe it's on my Gretsch. I have a Gretsch country classic. I can pull it out in a second, but
that sounds like a Gretsch kind of part, like real chimey and
So I did the Gretsch, and there's no the delays are just like a quarter, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and I was using the Strymon. Hang on, I'll show you. This thing.
Oh, yeah.
And this thing.
Yep. Man, that's great.
So the kind
Two
of...
great pieces.
And the delay would have been probably just like probably just the Strymon timeline, or maybe a Memory Man that I have. Just like a real kind of a quarter note, like it's not too prominent, but these kind of pieces give you all in the song you can hear it's real chimey and shimmery. And what I like about that whammy pedal is it gives you all these like weird digital artifacts that kind of the
Radiohead stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It sounds and I wasn't even going for like a weird tone. It was more I liked that it when you're loading up track in Pro Tools or in your recording session with guitars, I'm always looking for anything that will make the parts feel separate from one another. Because you can very easily like all live in the same tonal space, and you can kind of get in trouble with that. So with something like the whammy, even if it wasn't an octave, it would help spread it apart from the other parts because the digital thing makes it so like kind of quirky and weird. And so it just kind of helps it separate a little. So I recorded one version on the Gretsch. That's the main line. And I think it had this Strymon on it. And I don't know if it had the shimmer on it or not. It might've just been like a big mod verb kind of thing. This
it sounded like there was an octave one, and then there was like an octave lower or something.
Yeah. Okay. So I recorded one with just like verb and delay. That's the regular octave. And then I used the whammy for the second part on a Strat. and I had that pitched up so that you hear just the octave. So instead of hearing the through signal, you only hear the up, which helps it. It gives the producer the ability to add as much octave as they want. As opposed to like live, I would just put on my Pog or something, and you'd get the normal signal, and then you'd also get the octave up, which is kind of really the best way to run it live, probably.
It sounded like I wondered if there was like a keyboard playing it with you or something, because it's a killer part. So
yeah. Oh, cool. Thanks. So yeah, I've got I think it's a Gretsch doing the normal line, the lower octave, and then the higher one is just with the whammy up. And if you soloed that up, it would sound wacky, but in the track it sits in, nice. And that's kind of the main hook. And this pedal was acting weird. I don't know if I accidentally saved a favorite setting, because I don't really know how to use this, or if it, I mean, I know what I like out of it, but I don't know all the tricks. And it does this weird thing where the verb lasts for like 30 seconds, and it's not something that I'm controlling, because even if I turn the decay down, it just lasts forever. And so I kind of accidentally ended up with this like really long trail of verb, which you can hear in the track.
I heard it. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really know how to turn that off, but I love the way it sounds, so I'm just going to leave it.
Beautiful accident.
It was. Yeah. And then the choruses, and kind of one of the other main themes in the song is just kind of this real, let's see if I can get it was like this, I was kind of just going for like I wanted some like energy, because the song, when I first heard it, I couldn't tell if they were going to do the song halftime, like, or if it was going to be like, because you kind of, the way the song starts is kind of this 4 on the floor thing. And I thought, I can't tell what this is going to be. And it reminded me a little bit of like Castle on the Hill, the Ed Sheeran song. And so my first kind of thought was like, oh, I kind of hear like that jangly Strat thing,
like an eighth note.
Yeah. Or even like a little, like a real busy kind of like up high thing. So what I did with the Strat on the choruses is there's one that's just doing like a with like no delay, or at least not a dotted eighth. It might have been a quarter tucked in there, but I just wanted something that had some energy to kind of like add some like, just make it feel like it had some passion and some guts to it. And then I think I did like one weird octave thing in the choruses where it's like, but the octave up, I was hitting with the pedal, so it was like, like a.
Oh, nice.
So I was having fun with that. I think I did you can do an octave, or not an octave up. What is that? A fifth? Yeah, I think I was using the fifth with the foot, so I was getting like but I was using the pedal to get the higher.
You're making me want to pull out my whammy pedal now. I haven't used it in a while, so.
I never get to use that trick, right? It's something that it takes up so much space on your pedal board, and it almost never gets used, so it's not something that I would normally be worth touring with, but I was just kind of having fun in kind of a creative space that day, and it's hard to hear in the main track what all made it, except for I know that those jangly kind of Strat, it's kind of the Edge, maybe inspired kind of 16th notes with a 4 on the floor kick drum kind of thing, and then the kind of big anthemic part with the whammy. So
yeah. Now, do you tend to do like an ambient part? Like once everything's done, do you like swell in some ambient stuff as well? Or
yeah, in fact, you can hear it. You can hear it on that track. I created like a whole atmosphere bed. So when the song first opens up, you can kind of hear kind of like a big stereo spread of washy swells and ambient stuff, and that would have been probably with the delay and the Strymon verb here, and then a lot of times what I'll do with that is this is before I don't think I had Yeah, I didn't have any like plugins at the time because I kind of got used to not really using those.
Yeah.
Occasionally now I'll use Valhalla, the reverb, but it's so good. But at the time I didn't have that. So what I was doing for stereo ambient parts is I would record one version, you know, kind of playing along, and I would just play it mono, and I would pan that to one side, and then I would do a whole nother version of either exactly the same thing, or I might do the same thing and then add like a 5 or add an octave up of the same thing. And I would pan that the other way. And if they've all got reverb and delay, they're just different enough that it doesn't feel like one thing. It feels like a big stereo spread.
Kind of rubs a little bit that way.
Yeah, and you kind of get some nice surprises with the delays and verbs and stuff. And so that's kind of what you hear at the beginning of the track, and then occasionally when the music dies down. I try to cut that stuff off. Like when I send it to a producer, I'll put the ambient parts in, and then when it gets to like a chorus or some part where other guitar parts come in, a lot of times I'll just cut that stuff off because, you know, once it's in a big chorus, it's just eating up sonic territory.
Space. Yeah. Now, so then you do one stereo part and the rest are all mono, or how do you tend to do that?
You know, I almost never record stereo. I'll record, you know, through this like matchless typically into my cab, which is downstairs mic'd up. And I don't have stereo speakers in there. It's just a normal kind of 2x12 cab that I mic up typically I mic up the blue speaker in there. It's a cab, 65 amps, the brand. Yeah. They make a cabinet that's got a blue speaker and a G12H in it. We were on a session, and I asked a guy who was, when we first moved to Nashville, I had only combos, and I was like, man, I need like a head and a cab, because everybody in Nashville throws their cab in another room and they got these heads next to them. I'm sure it's the same out in where you live. Yeah. It's just makes more sense for sessions. And I was like, man,
tweak that way.
Yeah, it's way better. And I was like, what kind of cab would you recommend? He goes, oh man, 65 amps makes this great cab. It's got a blue speaker and a G12H, and it sounds really good. It's really well made. And he kind of went on and on about it. So I bought one used on Reverb. So that's what's downstairs. And I typically record just mono with that, with like a 57 on it. Sometimes there's a ribbon mic on it, but almost always the 57. And what I'll do is I'll record one guitar part that way, and I'll pan it one way, and then I'll record another guitar part and pan it the other way. And sometimes it's the same thing. Like maybe if someone's asking for chords, like I might do a telly with like rakes or diamonds or whatever you want to call on a chorus. Yeah. And I'll pan those to one side and I'll pan the Gretsch the other way. And I love the way that sounds. To me, I like the separation more than if I'm recording stereo guitars. That's just the way I've kind of done it. You know, I don't know that there's a wrong way. I love the way stereo sounds. It's just, you know,
just takes up a lot of space, like you said.
Yeah. What about you? Yeah. How do you approach the stereo thing?
So I'm not set up for stereo that well either in my home. And so, if somebody's like insisting on a stereo part, then sometimes I'll run out. Like I just got one of those little Stomp, line 6 things, and so sometimes I'll run out of that and do stereo with that, or I'll run an amp and then that for the stereo thing, or there's a few UAD plugins that are decent, so sometimes I'll run the second thing through that for a stereo thing, but most of the time I'm running mono as well. So hey guys, thanks for watching this video. Part 2 is coming up where we talk about some more fun stuff. So click like if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. You can hit the bell icon if you want to be notified when the next video is coming up, and we'll see you soon.